Welcome to Josh's Football Breakdowns. It's the Friday show featuring your comments. And you know, one of the craziest plays we looked at was that reverse flea flicker trick play that the 49ers ran against the Dallas Cowboys. Always great to be able to bust out a trick play in a big game like that. And we took a look at when the 49ers ran this play all the way back in 1981, after the 1981 season in Super Bowl 16. So if you haven't seen our full breakdown, be sure to check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But you know, the Detroit Lions ran the same play earlier in the day. Well, some of you folks in the comments were quick to spot and point out that San Francisco actually ran this play last year in the NFC Championship game. M. Rich says, they ran the same play in the NFC Championship last season, but we had no QB, LOL. War Alt also says, the 49ers also ran that flea flicker play with CMC as the passer in the NFC Championship game last year when they had no quarterbacks. They were desperate to try anything to get offense. It didn't work. Kittle was quadruple covered. Helps to have a healthy quarterback. Well, you're definitely right about that. So let's go back and take a look at that play from the NFC Championship game. Okay, and there he is, Christian McCaffrey as the quarterback, to the running back, to the wide receiver, back to the quarterback, and yeah, nobody's open. Unfortunately, the play didn't work, but Kyle Shanahan saved this play. He kept it in the playbook, knowing he might need to use it again, and it sure came in handy. We're going to get into some more of your comments, but first, we have a surprise guest, so let's go ahead and bring him in. I'd like to introduce my guest. He is the co-host of Niner Faithful Radio podcast, Mr. Jason Massey. Jason, thank you for coming on. Tell my viewers that they can find you.
Thank you for having me on here. I think it's way overdue that we got together and did some stuff, especially, living up here in the Pacific Northwest together. Basically for us, we host a little show over at Niner Faithful Radio. You can find us pretty much everywhere. YouTube, no longer Twitch, but Twitter, Instagram, everything like that. If you like I said, just go for Niner Faithful Radio and you will find all of our shows that we do on there.
Niner Faithful Radio. Okay, got it. Yeah, and we are deep in enemy territory up here in Seattle.
Yep. It's always fun, we don't see each other enough, but it's always fun to see everybody at the airport get-togethers and everything like that.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, let me ask you, give me your just your overall view of how the 49ers performed in this game against the Dallas Cowboys and kind of what that means.
Well, I think they performed pretty damn good, to be honest with you. I know I've been using that all day long, but I think it pretty much sums up the way this team is running right now. Right now, this offense is running at an efficiency we have never seen before. I mean, when you think about it, it's pretty much the same offense, more or less, that somebody like Jimmy G was running it. But look at the point differential. Look at how much more things are just running so much more smoothly. I won't lie, I championed Trey Lance when we made that pick and all that kind of stuff. I still think he can be good in this league. But sometimes you just have to find the right people to fit your system. And for whatever it is, people can argue, Trey didn't get a chance, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter at this point. Purdy is running this offense exactly how Kyle wants it. And I think it's only going to get better as the year goes along. He's going to get more comfortable. He's going to see some of these defenses and teams more often. And I think he's just going to learn everything and just continue to get better as the season goes.
Yeah, I remember I had appeared on your pre-draft show that year, and I was absolutely thrilled when the 49ers drafted Trey Lance. And you're right, he has the potential still to be a star in this league. For whatever reason, it didn't work out in San Francisco, but the results that we're seeing with Brock Purdy are simply undeniable. They're just undeniable from every way that you want to look at it, from a stat standpoint, from an eye test standpoint, to just what we're seeing on the field. It's incredible. So let me ask you, Jason, where do you think the 49ers stand in the league right now? And, what are you sort of seeing over this next 3-game stretch here? The Browns, the Vikings, and the Bengals.
I don't think it's an argument point that we're by far away, you could probably say, the best team in the league. I mean, everybody said, a lot of people were saying, even with one loss, Dallas was better than us. or at the very least equal to us and everything that lots of people were saying that, not just Cowboy fans. And I think we kind of put that to rest pretty easily.
Yeah.
Even teams like the Eagles are also 5-0. They're not putting up points. Their offense is good, but it's not dynamic like ours is right now. Even the Chiefs are just kind of there. They're not their usual high flying all over the place. They're still winning. I think they're 4-1. I think the only game they lost was to Detroit so far. But like I said, nobody else is playing at the level that we are right now. As far as the next 4 games, the Bengals and the Vikings and the Browns, still 3 games we should be heavily favored in pretty much in all 3. Maybe depending on how Cincinnati is. Cincinnati seems to have found their feet this last week with Joe Burrow and all those guys getting it going. So maybe by the time we meet them, so it's week 8, I believe, they'll be back to their old selves. But as far as, the Bengals or the Vikings and the Browns, should definitely be games that are definitely winnable for us. Whether or not we keep putting up 35, 40 points a game, that'll be seen.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. If I were to take a look at any one of those games in a vacuum, I would agree with you. We should be heavily favored. We should win those games. But of course, we know the NFL is not played in a vacuum. We are going to Cleveland, and at least after the Dallas Cowboys game, it is the Browns that have now on paper the number 1 defense in the NFL. That's nothing to sneeze at. And going back-to-back on the road is always tough on teams. I don't care who you are. And we're going to a very tough place to play at Minnesota. 49ers haven't won there in over 30 years. And then we'll be home against Cincinnati. But as you say, they look like they might be finding their footing. So this is an interesting 3-game stretch. I said last week, I think if we can win 2 out of these 3 games, we'll still be in an excellent position to push for that number 1 seed in the second half of the season. But the 49ers this year have been finding a way to exceed our expectations, haven't they?
Definitely. I think we all knew we were good. We all thought that the offense was going to take a step up. I don't think many people saw us taking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead that we are doing right now. I mean, especially with Brock coming back from the elbow surgery, we kind of figured, at least on our show, we were talking about how it was probably going to take him a month. So about right now to where he would finally be back to 100%. Yeah, we were all wrong about that. I mean, for as late as he got the surgery and everything, I think it was fair for all of us to think, hey, he's not going to be ready the first 2 or 3 weeks. Take him. We might see a little bit of Sam Darnold, Trey Lance. Say maybe Trey Lance starts and all that. No, he was ready to go week 1. And we heard all about the talks. Oh, he's throwing all these picks in practice and this and that. I think he was just testing himself out, seeing exactly what he could do, and now he knows what he can do, so he's not doing those things anymore.
Yeah. We were talking before we went on the air about Johnny Dell, and I had the chance to go on his show before the season started, and that was one of the things we were mentioning is, please, if you're on Twitter, stop posting the, practice interception stats and, the training camp stats. They really don't mean anything. But I agree with you. It was really remarkable that he was ready to go week 1. It's a testament to modern medicine. We saw Breece Hall tear his ACL just a year ago, and you would never know it watching him today. Aaron Rodgers says he might try to come back this season. It's absolutely incredible. But it's also a testament, I think, to Brock Purdy's work ethic and total commitment to the quarterback position in San Francisco. And they have a lot of guys like that and a lot of playmakers at every position. But let me put you on the spot now. If you had to pick right now for most valuable player, Brock Purdy or CMC, Christian McCaffrey, who are you going with?
Man, you're trying to tell me, what makes a car better, the engine or the driver right now? Man, if I had to go right now, let's be honest, MVP is a quarterback-driven award. I mean, CMC would just have to probably do minimum 1,000 and 1,000 and probably somewhere like 30 touchdowns combined.
Yep.
But even then, at that point, how many of those touchdowns is Brock throwing it to him? And how many other touchdowns does he throw to the rest of the wide receivers? So, I mean, I would have to go Purdy right now simply on, I could easily see, at this rate, Brock winning MVP, then like CMC getting the offensive player of the award. right? Offensive
Sure.
Player of the Year award. Because I mean, it's a quarterback award for the most part. You have to just have a season of legend for a non-quarterback almost to win that award.
Yeah.
So I got to go with Brock right now.
All right, well, you really can't go wrong either way, and it's definitely a good problem to have for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question before I get you out of here. What's your favorite movie?
You know, I thought about that one when you sent it to me this morning, and I don't necessarily have a favorite movie, but I would have to, if you put me on the spot, I have to go with the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
There you
I'm a big
go.
old sci-fi nerd, all that kind of stuff. I have watched that on replay. Like, I'll just throw it up in the background while I'm just doing anything. And so that trilogy, including The Hobbit, a lot of people don't like The Hobbit. I do. I'll play all of them back to back. I owned all of them.
Hobbit was one of the first books I read as a kid growing up, and I just remember how it just pulled me into that world. And yeah, great movies, Academy Award winning, just good stuff. All right, well, tell everybody where they can find you one more time.
Yeah, you can just find us, just like my name says, right over here. You can find us at Niner Faithful Radio. If you Google it, like I said, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I think we have a Kick that we're trying to start, that new streaming platform. If you do find us on Twitch, ignore it. We're getting rid of Twitch. So, but yeah, like I said, everything else, just find us at Niner Faithful Radio, and we'll see you guys there. We do shows on, our main show is on Tuesdays. It starts between 4 and 4:30, depending, because we got to wait for TJ to get home. And then we also do a show every Friday that starts at 6 or 7, depending on if we're hosting a secondary show that we have on a Friday night. But that's our fun show. It's our preview show for what's going on for the next week. It's also a drinking show, so come hang out with us and we have drinks.
Hey, lots of good stuff for 49er fans. There's tons of content out there for us, and
So
we should
much.
just be so lucky. You know, I see other fan bases all the time come on our content and say, we don't have this for our fan base. So we are really fortunate as 49er fans that we have so many people willing to do this. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It was a good time. We definitely got to do this more often.
All right, let's do it. Definitely want to thank Jason for taking the time to come on the show. Be sure to check out his content. I'll have links for everything in the description. But now, let's get back to your comments. Jeff Putnam asks, how exactly did the Niners completely neutralize Micah Parsons and still keep such a clean pocket all night? Great game, great video. Thanks, Josh. Well, thank you, Jeff. That is a great question. And to find out the answer to that, let's take a look at the film. We're going to take a look at a few plays here, and I've selected this first one because it's the only one that I can remember anyway where Micah Parsons had a big impact in the game. There was a delay of game penalty and then 2 incomplete passes, so this is a 3rd down and 15, and you can see they only need a few yards to get into field goal range, but there's Micah Parsons getting ready to blow this thing up in the backfield. Instead of a gain of a couple of yards, it's a loss of 5 yards. Him and Dante Fowler made the play, and the 49ers were forced to punt. Ouch. And to me, this is simply a miscommunication on the offensive line. Here we can see Spencer Burford heading downfield, completely giving Micah Parsons a free path to the backfield. And it wasn't just Burford. Aaron Banks did the same thing, and Trent Williams was clearly expecting him to help with DeMarcus Lawrence. And finally, Dante Fowler is the one who ends up cleaning up the play and getting credit for the tackle. All right, now let's look at a few plays where the 49ers were able to neutralize Micah Parsons. So one of the things that makes Micah Parsons unique is he will move around to different places on that defensive line to try to get a favorable matchup or just get something going. For instance, Nick Bosa always rushes from one side of the line. Micah Parsons will move all over. Here he's lined up on the left side against Trent Williams one-on-one. But is it truly one-on-one? Watch as Aaron Banks gives Jake Brendel as much help as he can first and then slides over to help Trent Williams. And Jake Brendel isn't left alone. He pushes his man, the rookie defensive tackle, Mazi Smith, into that area so that the three of them can work together. This is great chemistry between these three players. We've talked about it on this channel in years past. Offensive line play is all about chemistry, and the 49ers seem to have figured it out. So here we get a good example of him switching it up. If you don't win on the left side, might as well line up on the right side. So he lines up to try to go against Colton McKivitz one-on-one. Now, it is worth noting that the 49ers do have 2 tight ends over on that side of the field, so I don't know if he gets a super clean jump off the line of scrimmage. I think it is still pretty good, but Colton McKivitz just wins. While being careful not to give up the inside, he makes him take the longest possible path around to the quarterback. You can't have great plays like that without great protection. All right, let's take a look at our last example here. So if you line up on the left and it doesn't work, and you line up on the right and it doesn't work, might as well line up in the middle. And here he is trying to go against Aaron Banks this time. But again, Aaron Banks is not alone. Watch as him and Trent Williams work together on this. And then at the end, Jake Brendel too. This is great chemistry again by the offensive line to protect the quarterback. All right, a few more comments. Scott M says, I think this will be the defining game for Dak Prescott. I think Dallas will look at this game and admit that against the league best, their franchise quarterback embarrassed himself. Jerry lives in his own world, but you have to think that this would clinch him looking for the next guy. And that's an interesting comment about Jerry, because you're right. After this game, he went out and reaffirmed his support for Dak Prescott and says he believes Dak can lead him to the Super Bowl. But you know, internally in Dallas, yeah, they're going to have to take a hard look at themselves in the mirror. They've got a lot of tough questions to answer right now. And the last one, Bong Sang Kim says, after week 3, I thought it was the best Brock game because he was able to hit the deep throws that he missed in week 2 against the Rams. After week 4, I thought it was his best game because he had an astonishing completion percentage. After week 5, wow, it surprises all the doubters in the national media. He played such a high-level play against one of the best defensive teams in the league. Now I am not surprised he plays even better in week 6, week 7, and so on. He keeps improving. I don't know where is his ceiling. And yeah, that's a great comment. We've seen so many comments along the way kind of doubting Brock a little bit, saying, well, we know where his floor is, but you know, he can't have that high of a ceiling. He's not going to have, he doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have this. Well, I agree with you. I don't think we know where his ceiling is. I mean, he's in year 2 and he's completing 20 of 21 passes. And as I said when I replied to this comment, I was thinking in week 4, wow, he had such a great performance in terms of completion percentage. It's really a shame that a national audience didn't get to see that. That was a regional broadcast on the West Coast. Well, in week 5, in a primetime broadcast in front of the whole country, he seemed to play just as good. I mean, he didn't have the completion percentage, but he had 4 touchdown passes against one of the best defenses in the league. The dude is simply on fire, and the sky is the limit. I don't know how week 6 and 7 are going to go, but you can bet that Brock is going to be reliable. I think we've seen his floor, right? We've seen that quote-unquote bad game against the Rams, and it was still pretty darn good. We are in excellent hands with Brock Purdy. Great comment, great insights from everybody. Just, again, I'm so impressed with the football knowledge you guys bring to the table. And that's going to do it for this week's Friday show, but we did a full breakdown of this game. Be sure to check it out. I will put a link in the description. And I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns, who now have the NFL's #1 defense. But you know, we are going to be here to break down that film, and I will see you guys then.